everyone. Welcome to our session this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm very happy to have with us today Ha Din, who is a MDS alumna, and she's here to do a workshop on Project Management 101. So I'm going to hand it over to her now. Thank you.
Thanks, Angela. Good afternoon, morning, or evening, depending on where you are in the world. I think this is such a beauty of remote classroom. So my name is Ha, and I'm currently a data scientist at Shopify for the people analytics team. And before joining Shopify, I was at Unbounce as a senior data analyst. So at both Unbounce and Shopify, my job has always been in the decision science side of data science. So I provide data insights to help expand the perspective of my stakeholders so they can make informed decisions. Outside work, though, I focus my time on taking care of my corgi and give back to community either through having coffee chats with people who want to break into data science or co-organizing Women in Data Science Vancouver annually. So I'm happy to have Ashwaya and Celine today. They joined me to help organize the event as well. So thank you, guys. But today I'm gonna share with you a very important skill that, in my opinion, determines 50% of the success of your project, and it is project management. This is my third year giving the same talk, and last year we recorded it and posted it on my YouTube channel. So this year, I decided to spice things up a little bit. Instead of repeating the same talk, which you can access through this QR link, I will share with you my personal learnings and things that I hope that I learned early on in my career. Think of this as an extension of that talk. Highly recommend to go through that talk after this so that you can get the full guide of the real project management. All right. So, but before I come into sharing my experience, I want to hear from you. Get to know as many of you as possible. Tell me about what you are excited for the upcoming capstone project. You can just unmute and tell me your thought. And before going into your thought, please let me know your name, which program are you in, and what capstone project you will be working with. Let me move to the next slide. This is my most favorite learning of all. And this is also the very first step that I do every time I receive any question, any project, even in an interview, whenever I receive interview question. It is to clarify the goal, the ultimate goal. And what are they going to use this final deliverable for? So one case study, several months ago, a stakeholder reached out to me at Unbounce and asked me, hey, where can I get people who don't use smart traffic? So smart traffic is a machine learning power feature from Unbounce that routes traffic to landing page automatically. Well, what is Unbounce? I haven't covered yet. So Unbounce, that is a company that is a software as a service company providing landing page builder for marketer. So marketer can track and drop and build landing page easily. But what is landing page? So imagine you see an advertisement online. You click onto that advertisement. It will lead you to land on a page with all the relevant information. So that is the landing page. Let's come back to our example. So like about smart traffic, who are not using smart traffic? My stakeholder wants that list of people. But before jumping into any conclusion, I ask her several questions and engage her in the conversation to shape the project scope together. I asked her, hey, can I get a little more context around why you want to get this information and what you plan to do with it? So you want to send an email to educate people about smart traffic and encourage them to try that out. You know, there can be different level of usage. People can create a smart traffic page but never publish it for the world to see, or people who have never created smart traffic, so they probably they might not be aware of the feature even, etc. Those questions, you get the gist. Eventually we get to the ultimate goal. My stakeholders knew exactly what she needs, and even redefine her project a little bit after I give her some questions for guidance. Yeah, but one thing you might have noticed here is that in order to give the right questions and to guide our stakeholder to the ultimate goal and what exactly that they need, we need to have a good grasp of context. What context is, I will cover later in this talk. But let's come back to the ultimate goal a little bit more, because why I think it's so important to know. Let's say, what if you get lost in the land of many directions while you when you start the project, right? Or what if your stakeholder wanted to add more deliverables or change the direction in the middle of the project? Well, then you can use this ultimate goal and the actions that will come from the result of your capstone as the North Star. So the North Star will guide you through making the decision. When you get lost, revisit it. Ask yourself and your stakeholder, how will this new direction support the ultimate goal? Will it reduce the risk of taking the action that they want to take in the end? If they can validate these points, and if you can as well, then happy to add that into the plan. But set expectation, because you only have 2 months. So that is my next point. Set a clear expectation for deliverables. Now you understand the ultimate goal. Think about the solutions to help stakeholders getting there. Given the 2 months, and let's be real to each other here, be super honest. 2 months, it is not a long time. Yeah. And I would love to use a car analogy that I learned from Mei Lee, a data analytics manager at Best Buy, from a panel discussion at Women in Data Science Vancouver 2019. Let's say if the goal is to get from point A to point B, do you want a fully functional Honda, or do you want a Tesla prototype? Let's say the Tesla prototype can get you from point A to B as well. Each of the option has its own pros and cons. A fully functional Honda is great for someone who don't have a team to build and maintain the product after you hand off, while a Tesla prototype can be ideal for stakeholders who have that capability. But thinking about the end product is not enough. You need to have a fallback plan. Why? Because many unexpected things can happen along the way. If you cannot achieve 100%, what does your 90% look like? How about the 80%? When you think about this, remember to revisit your ultimate goal. So what do we do when things we don't have time to do, or ideas that stakeholders have but doesn't fit into our plan? Well, we have the parking lot for it. The idea of parking lot is that you can note all these ideas down somewhere. Can be a Google Doc, can be a note, and just park it. You will not add it into your plan, but you will add it into your final project. There will be a section where you say, what is my recommendation for the next step? Yeah. The idea of parking lot is also very helpful in meetings as well. When you have meetings with your team, with your mentor, or with the capstone partner. As data scientists, we tend to go deep into rabbit holes sometimes. We poke holes, and we want to make things clear. But anytime this happens, the meeting facilitator can monitor and say, hey, that is a great idea. Let's put this into a parking lot so we can discuss later on in Slack or in the next meeting. But now let's get back to our main agenda for today, because we don't have time. Yeah. Don't worry too much on taking notes on my talk because later on, I will send you like all the notes and detailed notes. Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned about a meeting facilitator. This can be anyone in your team, and that person can also act as a project manager as well. So have a designated project manager. In the past, I suggest that like each person can rotate to be a project manager, but honestly, like to me, a project manager task is like another full-time job. So it can be one person so that they can like keep the momentum going. So what do? So they will make sure that the project is on track and everyone is on the same page at all time, including the team, the mentor, and your stakeholders, the business partner. I remember last May at Untitled, we had an important project to connect data from our warehouse to a third-party app. The primary analyst of this project got sick very close to the deadline, when we still had a few things to close out. My manager assigned me to lead the project in the interim. And as the project manager, I sat down with my team and stakeholders to determine what's left to do, what is our goal that we need to achieve every single day in order to meet the deadline. And if we don't meet those deadlines, we will update each other at the end of the day, and then we replan for the next day. And then who's gonna do each task every day. We also made an agreement with stakeholders that in order to move fast and meet the deadline for them, whenever we have a questions, she would be available to hop on a call anytime and reply to Slack to clarify during work hours only. So yeah, in the end, we did achieve the goal on time. And I think besides the technical aspect of this, project management did put like a huge part of the success of the project. And so I mentioned about asking stakeholders questions and having them clarify for you. This is a point that you can bring up in your very first meeting with your capstone partner. Yeah, just have a communication plan with them. Like, do you want to have a weekly meeting, bi-weekly meeting, or and if like your team has any extra questions or things you want to clarify, how would you want to communicate with them? Through email or through Slack? And what is the best way to get answer quickly? Yeah, things like that. All right. So remember context, I mentioned it a lot. So now we finally get to meet our friend context. I walk you through a bit through an example of my stakeholders in smart traffic about how having a good context will help you shape your questions to stakeholders and help scope a solution that is as close to the ultimate goal as possible. But what exactly is context? I want to divide this into data context and context around your stakeholders. The data context, all the circumstances around collecting data. What is the industry, the product and services, the customers, that the organization that you were working with taking care of, like what the industry. How are metrics defined? The metrics that you will be working with in the project, how is it defined? The meaning behind the data. Look at your, say, if you have a CSV file, look at each line of the data. Ask yourself, what does it mean? What happened that locked the data as it is? It can be an alumni who raised their voice about the education experience. It can be a traveler who clicked to an advertisement to research for their next adventure. It can be a pedestrian who crossed the road, you know? So think about those points. Get acquainted with your data. So what is context about stakeholders? You need to know who they are, why they personally care about this project, what level of data literacy that they have. Data literacy is the ability to read, understand, create, and communicate data as information. So knowing the context you will be able to shape your direction better, not just the technical part, but also the communication part, how you will explain things to your stakeholders. If your stakeholders don't know about data science, say if they're in marketing, their job is not necessary to take care of data science, understand all of that. That's why they reach out to you, data scientists, for help, for guidance, because you have that expertise. So keep this in mind. Who are your stakeholders? In order to communicate with them, to explain things to them. Use layman terms. If they feel confused, ask them which part that they are confused for, and then try to explain them in the easiest way as possible. The communication part is so important because it helps build trust from the stakeholders to your team, to you, and to the project itself. And get this is so important for you later on as well, when you set foot into your very first job after graduation. Communication will get you far. And since I'm talking about trust, there is a trust that we should not overlook right from the beginning. The trust that you have with your team, people whom you will spend 8 weeks with to drive the project home. I remember when I was a sophomore student in college years ago, I joined a startup focusing on providing online educational content with a group of friends. At first, everyone was super eager to get to work, but later on, the passion died out, and eventually we stopped operating. As I reflect on this experience later on in my life, there are several reasons, I think, leading to this point. But one lesson that is so super relevant to our talk today is to understand what's in it for each person. What is their motivation? And it turns out each person have very different motivation when they come into the same project. For your case, it can be that the person wants to build a portfolio to get a job, or is it because of their genuine interest in this problem? And I heard William saying that he's really interested in the problems working with, so this is relevant. Or do they just want to pass this capstone project in order to get a degree? Or are they interested to get the job at this company that you will be working with? You know, motivation fuels behaviors and actions. So be transparent with each other about this, about how you feel, your plan, your idea. But remember, in order to make everyone feel comfortable to share, you need to join hands as a team to make it a safe space to share. So encourage everyone to speak. Don't judge each other. Especially encourage those who might feel shy in the beginning. Have an environment of healthy skepticism. Healthy skepticism, what is it? Well, you can question, poke holes in a goodwill. This is what I learned from Unbound's data team. Back then, every 2 weeks, we have data peer review. And this is the occasion where data analysts and data scientist teams meet, get together, bring out projects to be roasted. Scratch that, not roasted, but to be given feedback on. So I remember receiving questions and feedback such like these. Hey, I think this is not a reasonable approach, huh? Because yada yada. Or I still don't understand what you mean by this, huh? Can you help me to clarify? How about this? And how about that? What if this is the case? Then what is your plan to tackle these? In the end, it is the high quality analysis that we're moving toward to, and the impact that it would make to the company. So nothing personal here, nothing. So yeah, don't be an asshole. Give constructive feedbacks rather than attacking personally. If you think that the code that your friend wrote can be improved, then don't say your code sucks, or don't go into a silent attack By that, I mean, go to edit your teammates' code in GitHub directly and push to master without telling them. Man, that is rude. So never do that. Instead, you have a proper pull request review process. If you are the reviewer, clarify what you don't understand in that review. Suggest ways to make the code more readable and more optimized. But if you have things outside of the pull request process that you want to give feedback on, use this formula. Reach out to them directly through like DM messages, just them personally, and say, hey, I noticed these things happen. I have some thoughts on it. I have some feedback. Do you want to hear? Always ask them if they are ready to hear the feedback, because everyone has bad days. I have bad days. I don't want to listen to anything. But I'll be ready after that when my bad day stops and my good day comes. Or yeah. So you reach out to them. If they say yes, then you proceed. You say, hey, I noticed this exact incident happen. It makes this consequence happen. I think we can do this to improve the situation. What do you think? Always give them the opportunities to clarify their thought process, going back and forth so that you guys can understand each other better. So yeah, I hope these tips help you to build a strong working group, because your team is the very first group in your support network to help you reach the finish line, whatever your motivation is. But who else are in your support network? The most obvious one, your business partner, your stakeholders. If they are technical, ask them to review your pull request. Well, that's a free resource for you. They have been in the field for a while, so they probably have a good idea of coding best practices. This is also good for them as well, because later on when you hand off your project, right, they will be the one who maintain your code and to build up from there. So win-win. If the stakeholder are not non-technical, chat to them about the context. Test your deliverables with them and check if they understand how to use it, how to read the chart, how to get the information and make better decisions. The second piece is of the support network is your mentor. So ask them about anything, the method, how to optimize this method, etc. And finally, the untapped resource, the alumni Slack channel. I don't recommend you to share data that you're working with or any confidential information from your business partner. But you can absolutely ask the alumni channel on the high level problem. Maybe they have occurred to them before and they might have a solution for you or point you to the right direction. Cool. So this is my last learning. And this is something that I love to send you home with. To drive your project to the finish line, it takes more than just technical skill. And you're probably clear what is the rest, is project management. At the end of the day, in every data science projects that we do, we want to make the most impact that we can by applying reasonable methods to solve the problem, given the time and resource that we have. Well, guess what? It's hard, but Capstone Project is a great opportunity for you to practice this. So later on, when you apply for jobs, you can impress the interviewer. And further down the road, you wouldn't be so nervous doing your first project at work. And let me just repeat this real quick, because if you forget everything I say today, this message is the most important one. At the end of the day, we want to make the most impact that we can by applying reasonable methods to solve a problem, given the time and resource that we have. So let's unpack this sentence together. The first part, make the most impact that we can. The business partner comes to you with a problem that they hope your expertise can support them to solve. They invest their time to this project and they do hope for outcome. So let's try your best to bring the impact. This is particularly helpful for you, for your resume and your interview later on as well. The second piece is reasonable method for a problem. You don't just show a visualization to give answer for a hypothesis testing, and you don't force a neural network on a high-level KPI tracking dashboard. You choose a reasonable method, consider the context as well. The right method for the right question. So the last piece, the time and resource limit. As you define potential solutions for your problem, remember that you have 8 weeks, 3 to 4 people in your team, and can you achieve the solution? So the resource here, you can extend that into the maintenance resource as well. Does your business partner have the resource to implement and maintain it after you hand off to them? So think about these points and choose the most potential methods and try them out. All this is to say, don't be blind going into the fanciest models out there. Consider all of the points above: the impact, reasonable method, time, and resource limit. And honestly, those who can do this and explain their thought process behind choosing the final method has the competitive edge when finding a job. Trust me, guarantee that. Okay, so that's me talking a lot already. Now back to you. I want to hear from you all, like share one takeaway that you find most helpful today from my talk. And please introduce your name, the program, and then the capstone partner that you'll be working with. I want to hear from someone that I haven't heard so that we can get to know each other.